What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and we have finally gotten the full details of how Blizzard is currently planning to rework Symmetra, and my god, it sounds ridiculous. Over the past few hours, Jeff Goodman has been posting on the Overwatch forums, talking about all her new abilities and how they're all going to be reworked. He talks about some really powerful sounding changes to her main gun and turrets, as well as how her new teleporter will work, and a brand new ultimate ability, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. So let's jump on in and look at these insane new changes. Now, given that there are a lot of details regarding this, I'm just going to read through everything Jeff posted, and then try to just quickly give my thoughts as we go along. So first up, Jeff mainly talks about the changes to her turrets. We currently have moved her to defense. We tried a healer version which had her turrets healing instead of dealing damage, but it felt super awkward, especially with how fast Overwatch moves. That said, we are playing with a new way her turrets deploy. Instead of having to stick them directly onto a wall herself, she can now fire an undeployed version, like a projectile, which sticks to the walls, ceilings, etc. Once it sticks, it will unfold like it does on the wall currently when she builds them. This helps for a bunch of reasons, but one of the big ones is that it makes it a lot easier to play her on offense, or just be able to pre-position her turrets much more easily / quickly. With regards to the turret deployment, currently they will travel effectively infinitely in a straight line. The projectile's speed isn't super fast though, so enemy players can see them coming. They can't currently shoot them out of the air though, but we've been iterating and may allow this. We've lowered the max number of turrets to 3, both that she can hold and that can be deployed, but we've increased their damage and slow potential. They also have 30 health currently, though that number will probably change over time as we test. They still die quite easily, but there is a significant difference between dying to any damage and just having very low health. Now this point in particular I do agree with. While Winston should be still quite effective at clearing out a room if all 3 turrets are in there, if you're playing, let's say, D.Va, and you see a turret on a wall very far away, at long distances her fusion cannons only do like 1 or 2 damage, which would be enough to take out the turrets when they had 1 HP. However, once they have 30 health or whatever they end up deciding on, it will be harder to destroy them in that situation. Now overall, I still think most heroes will be able to defeat them quite easily just by shooting, but this is an interesting change, and all around, these turrets are gonna be, I don't know, kind of odd. Not that powerful from what they sound, but the easier deployment sounds like that'll be a nice luxury because Symmetra can focus on doing other things, which Jeff actually talks about in just a little bit. Jeff goes on to say that so far we found the turrets to be much more powerful this way, not less. Keep in mind, it's almost like you're deploying 2 turrets at a time now, since they are more powerful individually. You lose a little bit of map coverage, but overall the turrets are actually more impactful, not less. Plus, spending less time redeploying turrets frees you up to do other things at the same time, rather than spreading so much focus on moving around trying to keep your turret nest up somewhere. So yeah, having fewer, more powerful turrets probably seems like it could be a good thing. I don't play Symmetra very much myself, but when I do kind of feel like I'm so preoccupied just getting up each little individual turret and making sure, oh, are all 6 still alive, and where are the ones that did die? I think it'll make managing her turrets easier if she only has 3. Moving on now, we have changes to her weapon. We're still trying some things, but what's working pretty well right now is her primary fire changed to no longer lock on, but works as a straight beam that is fairly thick and has increased range. It still has the potential to gain extra damage by dealing damage like it does now, but instead of going 30, 60, 120 DPS, it is currently 65, 130, 195 DPS. However, it now takes a combined 2 seconds of damage to level up to the next tier of damage instead of 1 second. This means the weapon has significantly more potential, but it is more difficult to get it to max power. Also, when hitting a barrier, it currently generates ammo instead of consuming it. This means not only is she good at taking down barriers themselves, but she is good at just generating charge off barriers and using that charge to take down enemies as well. I'm gonna go ahead and pause right here because This is ridiculous. First of all, the change to how her primary fire actually works, where it's a straight beam, makes it sound like it's very, very similar now to Zarya's weapon. Although Symmetra obviously gains charge by dealing damage as opposed to taking damage like Zarya does, but this is not a change that I was expecting for them to go with. Not to mention, she is now incredibly effective against barriers. She absorbs ammo from them, which is cool when you consider the hard light technology that all of these are apparently using, but geez, she can charge up her weapon super effectively by just firing into a big old barrier that's there. This is going to make many tanks basically unusable against her, and in a lot of ways, I guess it makes her a pretty strong counter to Brigitte. I do have to say though, this is yet another nerf to Reinhardt. Reinhardt is becoming more and more anemic with all these other hero changes and the new heroes being added, so this just makes me even more desperate for Blizzard to take a look at him too. Anyways, continuing with the new details of her weapon, her alternate fire is still a charge-up large projectile, but it has a bunch of important changes as well. First off, it charges to max charge in 1 second, down from 2 seconds. Next, the projectile speed has increased significantly. Currently, it has changed from 10 meters per second to 30 meters per second. Lastly, instead of piercing enemies, it now impacts enemies/environments and explodes, dealing area damage around it. We've been heavily iterating on how much damage this ball deals now, but a direct shot has been hovering in the area of 130-ish, with a large percent of the damage coming from a direct impact rather than the explosion. I'll say it again here, we are still pretty heavily iterating on this stuff, so this is all subject to change, but we like to try and give you guys some insight as to what's going on with her rework as it stands today. Now I will cut in again here real quick. I am surprised that we're actually getting these details right now. I wasn't expecting to see any details for her for at least like another couple weeks. The fact that they're revealing all these details now is pretty surprising, and I don't think anyone was really expecting it. But of course it is nice to get a little insight into their development process, but do keep in mind that their ETA for this rework is still sometime in the summer, so we aren't going to actually see it in-game or even the PTR anytime soon. Moving on now, Jeff talks about the changes to her teleport ability as well as Photon Barrier. Her teleporter is moving to her E ability, and the Photon Barrier is moving to her ultimate, but these have massive changes as well. The teleporter now works as follows. You place the exit like you normally do, except that you can place it up to 25 meters away, instead of only right in front of you. When you place the exit, the entrance automatically gets built right in front of you, instead of at your spawn. It lasts only a short time, but allies can use it freely as they normally do, but there are some new things that can teleport as well. We're experimenting with what works and what doesn't, but currently you can teleport things such as Torbjorn turrets, Diva's exploding mech, Junkrat tires, etc. This has led to some sneaky/fun plays that are really unique to her. It also allows you to get onto high ground on offense with a comp that might otherwise have trouble doing so. The health has been lowered to 300, and the entrance is now attackable as well. If either die, the other is destroyed as well. Holy moly, this is insane. No longer does the teleporter take you from spawn to the battlefield essentially. Now it's more of a relocation with regards to like getting people to high ground or to sneaky situations. This is absolutely an ability that's going to require quite a bit of teamwork to utilize well, because you're going to have to coordinate with your team to know, okay, set up the teleporter here to get, let's say, Orisa up on this high ground where she can hold her barrier. Oh my god, there's a bunch of crazy things that you can do with this. I can't wait to see what ends up happening when people get to actually play around with this. And moving on now to what, believe it or not, may be actually the most absurd thing in my opinion, is her new ultimate. Her Photon Barrier has moved to her ultimate and is now very different as well. Instead of placing a moving barrier, she places a static barrier wall that effectively is infinite in size and has 5,000 health. She places this wall much like Mei places her ice wall, which means you can place it at some range and you can also change the orientation. This is all fairly early still, and we've only recently started working on the visuals, animations, sounds, etc., so it's still a little ways out. I don't have an ETA on when you guys will get a chance to see and or play with this, but hopefully it won't take too long. With regards to the Photon Barrier Ultimate, it's actually been super interesting in playtests. There are a lot of different ways to use it, and exactly where you place it is super important. You can do stuff like throw it into a fight from spawn like a Hanzo ultimate because it spans across entire maps. Now, I'm having a bit of a hard time visualizing what this ultimate actually looks like. I'm assuming it's essentially just a Reinhardt barrier, except it's infinite in size. I don't know if it gets cut off if it hits like a wall, so I don't know if you'd be able to use it to just kind of cut through different rooms, or if it just has to be within the same open space. But still, an infinitely sized 5,000 health barrier, which I imagine must be on a timer, because if you can just throw that down and leave it there, that is beyond insane. Again, it does sound like they are doing quite a bit of iterating and testing with this ability, so there is a chance that it won't actually come to the PTR or go to the game at all. But I just cannot believe how ridiculous this new ultimate sounds. And just all her changes in general make her sound so powerful. I am still quite excited to actually see this, on the PTR or wherever, and get to play with it a bit and see what it actually does for the game. But I will admit, at this point, I'm a little scared. I don't know what to think of these. There was one last comment he mentioned regarding the shield generator, which at the current time doesn't exist at all. It sounds like that's probably going to be disappearing from her kit entirely. Which also brings up the fact that it doesn't sound like she can actually give anyone shields in any way at this point. So I guess they're just kind of doing away with the whole bonus shields thing entirely. I guess that kind of makes sense now that we already have Torbjorn and Brigitte giving people armor. Having all three of them combined with 2 sources of armor and a source of shields might be a bit ridiculous, and maybe they're just trying to tone that back. However, overall, all these changes are just so crazy. I don't even know what to think about them. So I need you guys to help me out and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think these are going to be good changes, or are you just as baffled by them as I am? Either way, thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and share it with a friend if you really liked it. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and turn on notifications to both help out my channel and keep up with all my future Overwatch content. Don't forget to enter in the Action Screen Recorder giveaway, which is as easy as clicking that subscribe button, and you can find a link down in the description for all the details about verifying your entry. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.